Hi, I'm Brandon. I love prime Christmas movies. I had to go through the Rolodex.
I'm Dan, and I despise prime Christmas movies.
I'm Alonzo, and I'm suddenly hungry for pastry. And this
is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host this podcast.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Ba-ba-ba-bam. Hello, everybody.
Oh,
Welcome to another Monday edition of Deck the Hallmark. And you know what that means?
Yeah, I do.
It's Christmas Monday. It's
That's
Christmas
right.
every Monday
you
around
can't have
here.
a case of the Mondays here on Deck the Hallmark.
Sure can't.
It's impossible.
Not with the Christmas.
We review the best and worst that TV Christmas movies have to offer. And I say worst with an asterisk and a hyphen and a bold and a everything. Because typically, Bran has chosen the worst movies for us to cover.
What?
I don't know if we can pin that one squarely on Bran. I think he's working with what he's working with.
Yeah, I'm doing the best. I'm just going through and picking things.
Alonzo's being kind.
Now, look, has he picked some stinkers? Yes. Were the stinkers sitting there waiting to be picked? Also, yes.
Yeah,
Find me a better Shudder original Christmas movie from 2022.
Well, that's fair. If we want to narrow it down to that, then yes. But find me a better movie than Unicorn for Christmas. Just throw a rock. You'll hit something.
We're trying to hit as many as possible, as many networks. That's all I'm saying. That's all
you're
I'm
saying.
saying. That's all I'm saying. This one on the Prime. That's
You say Prime has something in common.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A Christmas movie to watch now.
Okay, keep going.
And it should be good.
Okay. Are you gonna
And I said, what about something from Tiffany's?
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Man, that was good.
That was good.
Man, that was
worth
good.
it.
Very excited to break this one down, but even more excited to talk about all that Philo has to offer.
Of course.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I have. I've been on this program.
We're on the Philo, but also so much is on the Philo. Just get digging.
Just get digging.
Just get digging. Do you remember the movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf?
I do.
Okay, you know how they dug holes?
Yeah.
You can do something similar to that, but with content.
I thought you were going to say Holes was on Philo, and you were very excited. It's one of your favorite movies. I can neither confirm or deny that, but you went a different direction.
Yeah, no, it's
could have
like
used anything to say dig a hole, and you went with a movie
called Holes.
Cold Holes.
Yes. You can see how I got there. All that to say is just keep digging. You're going to keep finding stuff. You're going to be like, what? That's on Philo? What? Wow. What? And the next thing you know, the hole that you were supposed to dig for the day has been dug. I know things are
I
getting
don't
lost.
think you're helping your case here by making it sound like prison work.
No, no.
I don't think that's. We could re-record the whole segment if you'd like, because basically you said
that's not what I'm saying.
Instead of prison work, dig into Philo for a movie that may not be there.
You're putting words in my mouth. What I'm saying.
I think this metaphor left the station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it a good metaphor? No. Okay. That's
yeah.
That I think is fair.
Yes.
That I think is fair.
All I'm saying is I wear great shirts on these segments, and if you're not watching Philo,
yes.
There it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's way better than what I said.
Get digging, Philo.
Get digging on Philo. Something from Tiffany's is what we're talking about today. It originally dropped, as the kids call it, on December 9th, 2022, and it went a little something like this. We're in New York City, and a guy and his daughter, Ethan and Daisy, are looking at engagement rings at Tiffany's. You guys got it. They walk outside, and this dude bumps into his daughter accidentally. He keeps walking. He's looking at his phone. He's so distracted that he gets hit by a taxi. Ethan runs over to check on him, but an ambulance shows up pretty quickly, and so he gets out of the way so they can do their job, and he scurries on his way. We then meet Rachel, who's making dinner for her boyfriend, Gary. Come on, Gary. She gets a call from Gary's phone. Turns out he got hit by a taxi. He's the guy. So she runs over to the hospital, and he's all good. Everything's on the up and up here, but does need to stay a little bit longer. So she takes his bag of stuff that you get when you get hit by a taxi and have to go to the hospital, where they put all of the things into a bag, and she's, I'll take this home. On her way out, she bumps into Ethan and Daisy, who have come to make sure that the guy that they saw got struck by a vehicle is okay. And she gives them the rundown, and Daisy tells Rachel everything about them. Literally anything you want to know, she tells him, and it is adorable. She tells him to come to the bakery, and she'll properly thank them for coming to check on old Gare Bear. So she gets back to her apartment, throws the bag of stuff on the couch, and a tiny, smaller bag falls out of that bag. Mm-hmm. It's a bag from Tiffany's. Somebody got something from Tiffany.
I see what we did.
Inside is what looks like a ring box, and she's like, oh my. She wants to open it, but feels bad because, he hasn't given it to her. But if it is a ring box, she's not sure if she's ready for that. Ethan is a professor over at UCLA, but he's in town. He wrote a book once. It was a little bit of a flop. Kind of wants to get back into that game. Him and his daughter both love New York and all that good stuff. So it's good to be back for the holidays. After a meeting, he heads to Rachel's bakery. He notices that she's swamped, and he's like, hey, I can make coffee. And she says, okay. They crush it, and then they crush it. And by that, I mean they start they're talking. They're crushing. Okay, yeah. See, it's
crushing
like
on each other. Yes.
I don't know. Not one of my best.
You dig it. Dig
dig it, Yemen. Including him showing her his secret spot, which turns out not to be all that secret of a spot. She gets a call and finds out that you got to go home, got to see old Gare Bear, and he finds out that his girlfriend's plane has showed up, so I guess I should go pick her up. The next morning, it's Christmas. Didn't see it coming. It's Christmas already. It's Christmas, and it starts right now. Rachel is nervous to open up the present from Tiffany's, and Ethan is nervous to give his present from Tiffany's. She opens up the present, and it is an engagement ring.
Whoa.
Wow, great, wonderful. But it's Ethan's ring that he bought, that we saw him buy. So Ethan's girlfriend opens up the box from Tiffany's, and it's earrings. Clearly earrings that Gary meant to give to Rachel, because Gary wasn't planning on proposing on Christmas morning. Gary assumed that he, got struck by a vehicle and forgot a few days, so he just kind of rolls with it. He's like, yes, this ring I know about that I bought you. Will you marry me? And Ethan is just kind of like, cool, I'm glad you like the earrings. The next day, Ethan tries to meet Gary so that he can get the ring back. He finds Rachel, and she's like, I'm about to go meet him for dinner if you want to come. And then Gary gets stuck at work being a real Gary about the whole situation.
God, stop being
so
Gary.
Ethan and Rachel spend the evening hanging out together, and by the end, the snow is falling. New York City's doing its job. And she's like, so did you actually come just to see Gary tonight? And he's like, gotta go. The next day, he goes to Gary's tattoo shop, and it's like, hey, man, you have my ring. And Gary is like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. And he's like, I know you know about it. And he's like, how do you know that? And he's like, I saw Rachel wearing it last night. And he's like, wait a second. What? You stay away from my fiance. Also, I don't know what you're talking about. Rachel goes to Tiffany's to get a care kit, because she bakes a lot and stuff. So you got to take care of that ring. And the person who sold Ethan the ring is also the person that's selling her a care kit. And it's like, I remember that ring. I bet the three of you are going to be so happy. And she's like, the three of us? And she's like, yes, your fiance's daughter, Daisy. She was funny. What a memory. What a memory on her. What a memory.
No kidding.
It all becomes very clear to Rachel what has happened. The next day, she's like, hey, Gare, how'd you afford this ring? You didn't, you bought it, right? With money? And he's like, okay, you know what happened. He tells her that he messed up, but seeing her with the ring confirmed in his mind that he does want to be engaged to her. He does want to marry her. So he said, you know what? When life gives you a ring, you go through with the engagements. And she's like, okay, well, let's give back the ring though. And he's like, okay, but we can still do this thing. And she's like, yeah. Ethan comes in and is like, hey, I know about everything. I made you some bread. Enjoy that. The bread, though, apparently had the ring baked into it because he goes and he and his girlfriend are pulling the bread as you do. The ring comes flying out. And he also kind of fumbles his way into a proposal. She says yes, and Daisy seems kind of bummed by this at this point. It's New Year's Eve, and everyone is happy. His fiance calls the bakery and is like, hey, if we could get a small table to celebrate, your bakery kind of played a role in our engagement. That'd be wonderful. Gary shows up with his best buddy to celebrate the engagement, and his best buddy is a dummy and is like, it's so wild that you're engaged, even though the night that y'all met, he was going to hook up with somebody else. And this is news to her. Really bothers her that that's how that ultimately happened. And so she's like, hey, I do think that we should break up. Ethan and Vanessa simultaneously walk into the bakery, and it all comes out about the ring and the mix-up, and it comes out that that he didn't even know about the ring in the bread. And so they have a conversation. Turns out that Vanessa doesn't even want to live in New York City like a monster, and so they decide to break up. Daisy tells her dad, hey, I think you should go for it with Rachel after, being sad about a breakup for a few hours. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. He sends her flowers. Those flowers don't immediately get to Rachel, but the flowers had a note that said, hey, if you feel a little something between us, come meet us at the special spot in the afternoon. And so she shows up, what seems to be a little bit late. They were getting ready to leave, and she's like, I do feel that way. Wonderful. They kiss. Fast forward a year. We're back at the bakery, and he ends up proposing with the very ring that caused all this to begin with. And that, my friends, was something from Tiffany's.
We did it.
We did do it. Let's take a quick break, and we will come back and break this movie down with 4 segments here on Deck the Hallmark. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark. We're talking about something from Tiffany's, a Christmas movie from Prime from 2022. Let's break it down with 4 segments, starting with the hot take, and we will start with Alonzo. Alonzo, what did you think of something from Tiffany's?
Well, okay.
That's a whole review from Alonzo right there. That whole
I will say that this movie does the Christmas in New York part really well. It gives you that ambience and gives you, the lights and the snow and the carolers and all of that stuff. I wish this were better in so many ways, like I wish the characters had more in common than like, you like that thing, I like that thing. I wish that the plot wasn't so contingent on people not having a single conversation about anything to explain what's going on. Also, the grammarian in me really hates it when people use the term Tiffany's because it is called Tiffany and Company. Sorry,
I
Truman
get the
Capote.
feeling. I get the feeling they did not have the rights to that, Alonzo. You never see the name Tiffany and Company anywhere. Not on the box,
on the door.
You see like
on the door of the store.
awning
Tiffany and Co.
Yeah,
man,
they shot
I didn't
there.
see it anywhere.
And so it's like, Tiffany's is a thing that Truman Capote made up, and it's fine for that context, but it's not what the place is called. Anyway, that's a minor thing. I think this is an appealing cast. Zoe Deutsch is very charming. Kendrick Sampson, a Hallmark vet. You guys might remember him from that Seattle fashion movie.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, but yeah. I just the wait what's really pile up, and I just found myself getting really annoyed with everyone in the film, and so it kind of got in the way of my rooting for them to get together. But on a purely like, yes, they shot it in New York, and yes, it's winter. Sure. Yes. Plenty of that.
Let's go back to Bran in Crazy Town. Bran, can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, I love this movie so much. I love this movie so much. I can't wait to rewatch it this Christmas.
My goodness, stop it.
I loved it.
Are you serious?
I had an absolute blast.
You have a problem. You can't wait to rewatch something.
I can't wait to show my wife this movie. I watched it by myself.
I'm not surprised because I think, and I get this, but Bran has a very soft spot for like trappings, and this movie, Christmas wise, is trappings out the yin yang.
Also daughter of Leah Thompson. You know how I feel about Leah Thompson. But Zoe, I love her. I loved her in The Setup. We had a wonderful conversation around the office yesterday about The Setup on Netflix. It's a great flick. I love this movie. It just made me feel good. It made me miss New York. And I think another thing I appreciate about this movie is it gave me Christmas feels while it being really about it's not just Christmas isn't the end. It's only the beginning, which I really appreciate it. And that's also how I think about life. So I love this movie. I think of the movies we've watched for this on Mondays, this is my favorite of the year so far. I absolutely loved it. And Dan, I don't need it from you. You can save your just being completely just overwhelmed in sorrow for your own miserable hot take, but don't bleed into mine. This is my time. Go dig a hole.
Christmas number one's a way better movie.
I like this one more than Christmas number one.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying it's a better movie. I'm saying I liked it more. It's my favorite.
Is it my turn yet, Brandon?
Yeah, it's your turn. Okay, if you want to ruin everyone's day.
Alonzo didn't like the movie. Wait a minute, me ruin everybody's
Yeah, but
day.
who can be mad at Alonzo?
That's right. I mean, with that shirt on, especially. I only on Philo TV. That's just want to be clear. So this movie looks the part, and I think we've already covered that. But it looks good. It looks not only looks good. It looks like it's a good movie. Like when you start watching it, you feel as though you're watching a good movie, and then people open their mouths, and you realize you're not watching a good movie. You're watching a really, really bad movie that looks really good. Zoe Deutsch, Kendrick Sampson both have plenty of charisma to spare. There is only one adult in this entire movie that comes off completely unscathed from being the worst person ever, and it is Shay Mitchell, Vanessa, the girl that he dumps. She's the only person in this movie.
Well, she doesn't like New York City.
But that is her only flaw, and she's open and honest
It is the worst flaw.
How dare she want to live in Los Angeles?
She has
exactly right.
She suffers the cardinal sin of liking L.A. more than New York. Now, you know I'm with you on New York over LA.
Listen, give me people fumbling their way into engagement over not liking New York any day of the week.
But here's the thing, is those people don't fumble their way in. They lie, they're mischievous, and they're selfish. All of them. Not the kid, not Vanessa. The rest of them can jump off the East River Bridge. I don't have any tolerance for any of those characters. They're awful human beings. Yeah, Gary's probably the worst, or his friend. But let's not act like Zoe Deutsch or Kendrick Sampson are upstanding citizens. They're all terrible people. This movie is like top of the list of could have been solved with one honest conversation. No.
Why are you throwing Zoe into this? What did she do to be an awful person?
She put a ring in a loaf of bread, Bran. She asked no one. She just jammed that sucker in there. He may throw that bread away. His daughter may take it to school. We don't know what's happening with that bread. She just jammed a ring in there. Didn't tell anybody. That's his ring. It cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
She just jammed it in there. That's bad. You know it's bad. And then they open the bread, and he's like, yeah, surprise. Will you marry me, liar, you terrible human being? Gary is the worst. They're all bad. All of them but Vanessa. It is these people are impossible to root for, aside from the fact that New York City is great in the wintertime, and these two have a lot of charisma. But the dialogue and the characters that we have created are awful, and it drove me nuts. I hated how much I hated this movie because it looks great, and I wanted to love it because of the leads, but I hated it. That's where I end up on this movie, because characters matter.
I agree to disagree. Let's talk about all the feels. What gave you the feels, Alonzo?
Well, I mean, I think what Dan just pointed out, the externals and the contexts, the Dean Martin of it all, they clearly spent some money on this. My dear friend Rose Abdu plays the sales lady at Tiffany, so that was nice to see her, especially because she has that line about remembering Daisy's name because it's like a flower, and her name is Rose. Anyway, that's just little inside joke there. Yeah, beyond that, it's funny. At one point, I wrote down the Baxters don't suck in this, and then later, like, oh wait, they do.
Oh boy, do they! Like Gary is Penn Badgley in You Bad. He is like he's killed some folks.
Yeah, Gary is terrible, and I do have a very close friend named Gary, and because of that I've become aware of how much movies and TV shows use the name Gary as a shorthand for this guy sucks.
Yeah,
which is unfair to all the Garys out there, but this Gary is terrible.
He's real bad.
Yeah,
scary Gary.
Every time Daisy said anything, it gave me feels. She was just the cutest, and I loved it, and she should be in every movie.
The kid is the best part of this movie. She is.
But by the end of it, even she is too mature for words. Like when she's giving dad relationship advice, it's like, okay, movie, calm down.
One of the hallmarks, prime, the pump. I don't know what we're going to call it, but
the pump. For sure.
The kid. How old is she supposed to be? Because at the beginning of this movie, it's like she's like late elementary school. At the end of this movie, it's like she's like in 8th grade and has had some relationship drama of her own. Like, I don't know where that is.
I think she was like 12.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a sliding scale. But she's adorable and she does a good job playing her character. And her character is written very, very well. Even if it's very forward, I think her character is one you can pull for, unlike anyone else in the movie. Save for Vanessa, who... because she likes LA, is the devil herself.
She's the biggest villain in this movie. LA, are you kidding me right now?
Over New York? You kidding me right now?
Kidding me right now?
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, the fact that Alonzo lives in LA is literally the worst thing about him. Everything else about Alonzo is perfect. And then I find out he lives in LA and I'm like, do I even want to be friends with him?
The thing is, Alonzo not only lives in LA, he's a LA apologist. Like he is a legit. He's the guy who's from LA that makes the argument weaker because he's a legitimate good guy in Los Angeles and he knows a lot of other ones. And he knows a lot of other people who are good in LA. And so he kind of ruins the whole LA sucks thing.
And I know New Yorkers who are great too, and they love it there and they're happy there, and more power to them. But I'm here and I love it, and I don't see why I don't know why the movie has to come up with something else that's a character flaw for this woman, because
she literally does everything right all movie. She is wonderful.
Sauce.
She's caring. She is thoughtful.
Her flight got delayed once.
Okay. I will say they do give her the fact that she's not particularly supportive of this guy's writing career.
Yeah, they try to throw that at the end, but even that had he been honest and said, I want to write a book. And her whole thing is like, why didn't you tell me you wanted to stay in New York? Like, we could have had this conversation years ago.
True. Not
while me wearing a ring. Like
one in a series of conversations that need to be had that don't in this movie.
She's the only one that's not a complete monster, in my opinion.
But have you heard about that Greenville, South Carolina?
Ooh, yeah, that's the best of both worlds. It's like LA and New York combined.
That's what I've always said about it. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the wait, what, and the what the haul. We'll prime the pump here on Back the Hallmark. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you're doing well today on a Monday. And if not, the Wait What's are here. Hopefully you'll get a little chuckle. Alonzo, what in this movie made you go, wait, what?
Okay, so the first thing that we see professional chef Zoe Deutsch do in this movie is cut into lemons that she has not washed yet and chew. No. Little peppermint soap, something. You wash your lemons before you cut into them. This is your public service announcement.
Yes.
How many hospitals are there in New York City?
Only one.
Because they just seem to know exactly which one.
We got to go to the hospital.
The hospital.
And to put that in perspective, there are 2 massive hospital chains in that Greenville. That is on my list as well.
I mean, like that. Is he at like Columbia? Is he at Cedars? Like, there's a lot of choices there, and they're just like, the hospital, the one in Manhattan that everyone goes to. Okay. Gary, among his other flaws, is an up and coming tattoo artist who does not seem to have a single tattoo on him. And I don't know if that's a thing because
He has tattoos.
I didn't see any.
Where
He has one on his wrist. He has two because I distinctly remember early on being like he would never be in a Hallmark movie because of the tattoos.
Okay, because she has one that he gave her and stuff. I did not see them, and I thought that seemed suspect. And frankly, even if he just got that, like,
he's not full sleeved. Which,
tattoo art. The ones that I have come into contact with, like they're walking billboards for them.
No, they're known for only having small ones that mean a lot to them.
That are easy to make with fake ink.
So, those were like the big ones, just because a lot of this just boils down to like the things that we aren't talking about. Can we unpack the best friend, by the way, who not only actively hates Gary, but also like arranges for Ethan and Vanessa to come have their dinner during the engagement party?
Oh my gosh.
Like, what are we even doing here?
I don't know what her plan was there.
She's awful too. Yeah. She's terrible too. Every adult in the movie that is not Vanessa is awful, including her. And she's supposed to be comic relief, and she has some really good line deliveries in this movie, but let's not make it something it's not. She's a mean person who just goes above and beyond to just make things worse. That's what she's doing in the movie.
Maybe. But this is, so they're walking down. I think this is right after they finish the shift that they work together, when she, calls him into the kitchen to do some work, which, is that allowed? I don't know. But they're walking down the street and she pulls out not the croissant, but whatever. The Cornetto. She takes a bite of it, is having a wonderful time. And then to close out the scene, she says, let's get the rest of these to the shelter. Which means that she took bread from the shelter.
Yeah.
A tiny box, by the way.
Tiny box that maybe fit one other in there. That's right. So 50% of the shelter's bread was eaten by them as they walk down the street. And my last one, it's a huge one for me. I don't know if I want that ring. I don't know if I'd want to be proposed to that ring. Maybe people can speak up about this. They like it. It's a part of it's a part of the story, but I don't know. I feel that ring, he bought it with someone else in mind, and I know that it's a part of the story, but and I know she wore it for a while.
I don't think there's a good way to end it.
I don't know.
With a proposal either way. I think if you have the ring, it's like, really? And if you don't, it's like, really? Like either way, because her reaction to the ring is one of the most genuine parts of this film. Like her just over the moon reaction to how amazing this ring is like really good stuff. And
maybe set a couple more stones in just so it's the same ring, but not the same ring. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would feel weird about giving that ring, knowing all that. But maybe they've talked about it. So, Dana?
Yeah. You guys took a lot of the big ones between the hospital thing, the ring thing, the bread that was going to the shelter, very big. A couple more. I don't think Zoe Deutsch's character knows exactly what a concussion is, because she's in the hospital and the doctor's like, he's had a concussion. And she's like, okay, got it. And the doctor walks out and the nurse comes in and goes, give him a little bit of time for the memory loss. And she goes, you didn't say anything about memory loss. That is part of a concussion. That's part of what that is when you have a concussion, your mind is not fully compatible with what you're saying a lot of times. So that's part of the deal. I don't know how to stop that for you, but that's what a concussion means. We do have another baker in these movies that typically apparently never has to get up early in the morning to bake bread and spends most of her day doing anything other than at one point, we see her selling bread at night, and it looks like she's been baking all day. Turns out she hasn't. She bakes like one thing of bread, and then she's like, well, she's on her third rye. And then we find out that when she puts a loaf of bread in the oven, what she does while it's baking is she does a lot of thinking. Like if you're running a bakery, you cannot do a lot of thinking while your bread is baking. You got to make more bread. Like, you're selling that stuff. It is not an heirloom.
She's a baker and head chef of this restaurant.
That's right.
And is very chill with a very small staff.
Taking long lunches, walks along the East River.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Like, to be a head chef and a baker is a lot. And I don't think they quite compensated for that appropriately. I had a question, and it was, when did Daisy and Zoe Deutsch's character meet before that scene at the end of the movie? What scene was that?
The hospital.
The hospital. Okay, that's where it was. Okay, I can't remember what my wait what is. Then it doesn't quite add up. I got one more that I'll give you.
Okay, here we go. So we're getting back on schedule.
Yeah,
here we go.
I got one more, and I know we've had some evil people, some evil Baxters out there. I don't think I've ever seen anything this evil in one of these movies. This guy knows, looks at, you see him looking at his bank statement. Yeah. He knows the thing that he bought at Tiffany's. He knows the thing that he gave her is not what he bought. He knows it's not his. He knows that it's someone else's. He knows that it's worth more than he has. The person comes in and confronts him about it. The person knows that he knows. Everyone here is on the same page, and he looks at him, the guy that basically kind of sort of saved his life, or is at least there for him, and basically goes, "Not my problem, finders keepers."
Yeah.
That is a monster.
No takesy-backsy.
Yeah, that was a level, like, where do you think it's going from there, bro? Do you think he's going to go, well, I guess it's right, like 9/10 of the law is possession, there's nothing I can do? Of course he's going to end up telling her, or she's going to find out. You think he's going to keep that a secret like his whole life? What was the rest of the steps in that plan? Like, that's not right.
He said, "Stay away from my fiance," so that should
there it is, done and done.
Put a force field around her.
That's right. Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
It's time for the pumps, where we wonder what could have been made. I think it's some clear questions we still have. Alonzo, what are you still wondering about?
I know this isn't something to bring up when we're talking about rom-coms, but it really hit me with these two, which is, I don't trust people who are this into big gestures.
Yeah.
And there are so many big gestures in this movie. It's like, oh my God, is this your entire lives together going to be one promposal after another? Or are you just going to like calm down and just, like do the day-to-day work of maintaining a relationship? Because I don't see it happening with these two, because not having conversations is seemingly what they're all about.
They could, as Jennifer Coolidge would say in Best in Show, they could talk about not talking
for
hours. I will say it is a dangerous game that that grand of gestures in the first year of knowing them. Like, you don't have any, like, where are you going from there?
Exactly.
Like, is it a full, brass band for the next anniversary with it's really hard to, and then that's what, you see the high school kids doing the promposals, and you're like, bro, you were just like, why have we started here with this?
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Shout out to Dave White in the background, who thinks promposals are hilarious.
Love it. Yeah.
So Gary at the beginning of this movie walks out of Tiffany's and bumps into Daisy for I think he's just looking at his phone, and then promptly just darts into traffic.
New York, baby.
And they try to justify that by her saying later in the movie, sometimes he's so he doesn't really know what's going on around him. That's why you'd walk out in the middle of traffic.
Okay. My thing was, what's his deal?
Yeah.
Like, I think he might have a problem outside of just a concussion. Yeah. Because to walk out of Tiffany's holding your phone, bump into a little girl, and promptly walk straight into traffic, I don't know. I think maybe he wanted this to happen. I don't know what the deal was. That was why did they make him bump into her? I thought was going to come back somehow, and then he just goes straight into traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was wild. A wild turn of events that they don't really explain, other than, because it's not like he's always on his phone either. That's not a thing that he does, where he's like always walking around, big business guy he's a tattoo artist. The whole if he's like a stockbroker or something, sure, maybe. I don't know. The whole thing was weird of how it ended up happening.
They also do the bit where he goes in and he's like, just where are the, yeah, hi, I know I'm at Tiffany's. I just need the cheap stuff. Show me where the cheap stuff is, which is a group of people. Like they would rather have something cheap with the blue box than something that looks good. So they're trying to paint a picture of who he is, but they didn't do him any service by having him bump into that person and just walk out into oncoming traffic like a
child.
A child.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
I don't know if they needed him to
right.
bump into the child to
No, that
then
was-
walk into traffic. I don't know what that
setting
had.
you up for the monster that he is
Okay.
later.
That's the goal. There.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah. Daisy was my what the Hallmark Prime the Pump, whatever, because I do think she ages, 10 years in this movie. She goes from just bystander to sage wisdom. You know what I mean? Like the early in the movie, she's very much just here for a quick line of like, I like to do that. And then later in the movie, she's like, Dad, you got to do this and blah, 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 and take blah, blah, blah. That like she becomes this person that has all this. And so I don't know if her early stuff was cut out or if they just wrote her more heavily later in, but that was my big question for the movie because she seems like a different character at the end of it than she does at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
You go see Alvin Ailey once and it's,
Yeah,
life-changing.
that's right. All of a sudden,
We did it, everybody.
We did it.
Congratulations. Another Monday movie Christmas time. Also, shout out to all of the shows on Philo that talk about holes, black holes.
that's right.
There's one about swimming holes.
Yeah.
Lots of great.
Get digging is what we're saying.
Get digging is exactly what we're saying. So just maybe go learn something about black holes if you want to.
Yeah.
Next week, we are talking about
Drum roll.
We're simply having a Monday Christmas time.
Oh, I like
was
that.
good. Christmas in the Pine
Christmas in the
from
Pines.
Up TV.
Singular.
Christmas in the Pine from Up TV.
Just they can only afford one pie.
One
One
pine. That's
pine.
fair. At least
One
they're
pine.
honest about it up front.
Looking forward to that. Until then, maybe we're the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark is a Bramble Jam podcast. It's produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.